In the past, we've looked at some of the more interesting and unusual ham radio call signs out there and why some prefixes are missing or unallocated. G9 test and development call signs being the main example. In amateur radio, the prefixes G0 to G8 were widely allocated, with G9 being reserved for test and development. M0, M1, M3, M5, M6 and M7 have all been widely allocated, and there isn't currently a requirement for M8 or M9. Radcom announced in 2004 that the foundation license, at that time M3 only, would be allocated the M4 prefix, but this never happened. So what about M2? Well, we need to go back as far as 1939, a long time before the M prefix was introduced. Home Office Radio was the VHF and UHF radio system set up by the British government for its blue light services such as police, fire and ambulance, as well as prisons and home defence agencies from around 1939. The department name was the Home Office Directorate of Telecommunications, which is commonly referred to as Details. Now, details is quite a large topic and something we'll probably cover in another video, because now we're only talking about M2 call signs. Radio schemes ran by Details consisted of 10 wireless depots throughout England, Scotland and Wales, supplemented further by around 60 outstations. The 10 Details regions were the same as the Home Defence regions, and within each region was a wireless telegraph station. The word wireless is quite antiquated nowadays and is mostly referred to as radio instead, although modern maps often still show hilltop radio sites as WT stations, the WT standing for wireless telegraph, which is an indicator that the site is a former Home Office station. The 10 regional wireless depots and their many substations were responsible for the installation and maintenance of their own emergency service radio systems. You can see here the 10 regions plus Northern Ireland. As you can see, the Home Office allocated 2-letter call signs to every police and fire service, and what's more interesting is that these letters followed the prefix M2. In England, the first letter of the abbreviated call sign for each county police or fire service referred to the region. So, as an example, Greater Manchester Police sat under the Billinge Hill Regional Depot, whose letters were B and C. Therefore, Greater Manchester Police's 2-letter suffix was CK. All Welsh counties started with a W. Scotland used the letters Z, A or U and didn't conform with the naming scheme, and Romeo Uniform was assigned to Ulster, the only substation in the Northern Ireland region. Workers and engineers at the regional wireless depots were assigned a Mike 2 Romeo call sign. The last letter would be the letter corresponding to the depot. For example, the Wales region with the letter W would use the call sign M2 Romeo Whiskey. Now, most police forces and fire brigades left out the M2 prefix and only used the last 2 letters as an abbreviation. Another point to note is that while some forces used the NATO phonetic alphabet, many actually didn't. So that is all pre-1989. Between 1987 and 1989, there was a major overhaul in the UK's emergency service radio communications scheme. There was a mass migration during this time of police radio systems from low-band VHF to high-band VHF. Most police forces began using more than one channel for their numerous VHF mobiles. Half a dozen channels were allocated in many areas, with some channels serving a dedicated purpose, such as the police national computer checks or motorway patrols. Now, there was a massive growth in the number of hilltop sites serving the emergency services. It also meant that police main station transmit and receive channels were mixed with link frequencies, which made it much harder for people to eavesdrop using radio scanners. Consequently, all of this meant that each police station had its own 2-letter suffix as opposed to each county force, and this is why M2 was never allocated as an amateur radio prefix.